Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and another episode of the Toyota 86 build. It's going to be a bit of an update video, as well as I'm going to finally get the engine in place and mock everything up. So we'll do a bit of a walk around on the car. As you can see, it's got more panels on that you would have previously not seen before. So we'll walk you through it, and then we'll get the engine in and show some new bits and pieces that we got on the engine. So start at the front here. I've got the bonnet on, as well as the bonnet latches. So I've just got two bolts in it, or nuts and bolts in it at the moment, and I've installed the bonnet pins on both sides there, and I've also got the brake master cylinder in. Now before putting the engine in, I'll have to take the steering rack out. So as you can see, the steering rack is right underneath where the engine mount will sit and the bolts will go. So in order to get access to that, I'm going to need to drop the steering rack out. So that'll be the first job. Also got some gas struts on the bonnet, so I don't have to flip it up all the way or rely on a pole to hold it up, which is nice. Got the front guards on, which are nice and wide. So I've got the 17s on the front that I run on the 180. But I'm not sure what I'll do with it just yet, but I'm just using what I've got for the moment, which I don't mind actually. So we'll see how we go anyway. First test session, I'll see how it goes, and I'm running the hand hooks on those. Got the doors in, as well as the rear guards now. They're actually mounted up, so I've got these fasteners, washer fasteners to hold the panels on. Right, so this is a bit less noise. See, I've got 2, 4, 6 panel washers on there holding the panel in, as well as at the back there where the two panels join, or the rear bar and the fender joins. And again, using the same wheels that I've got for the moment. I've got the door in place, as well as the carbon fibre window frame just sitting there for the moment. So I've marked out where I'm going to put like a quick release latch system on the frame. So if I'm not, or if it's raining, so I can put the windows in and take them on and off pretty easily. So I'm just waiting for those latches to come from the UK, because they didn't have anything here that I wanted or liked. So moving on to the interior, we've got the dash in, some upright supports for the dash underneath there. We've got the Motec 15 button switch panel, as well as a Motec C127 in the back there, which I've mounted up as well. So I'm using the factory column at the moment, with a hub adapter on there. That's just from my old car for the moment, again using what I've got, but otherwise from the inside not much has changed apart from the seat getting in there. I've put all the rubber door seals on and the frame, just to know where everything's going to sit, and then there'll be a Perspex window that will sit on, or get riveted to the frame. Moving to the back, I got the rear Perspex on, again with these panel washers. I've nut inserted the edge around the car, and just got those panels washers there. I've got the rear bar on and the boot on, which you guys have probably seen, but in here it's a bit of a confined space, but it looks absolutely awesome. Love it. But once I did take the car out of this space, and it looked really good. So you've probably seen the back anyway, but the radiator's now in. Well, I might not have shown the radiator. I've mounted that up for the moment. Water pumps under the car, which you guys have seen. So this is a Chase Bay's dual pass radiator. And what's really nice about it is it's got the AN fittings already on there. So they're a dash 20, but I'm probably going to run a dash 16. So I'll go 20 to 16, and I'll most likely run down and underneath the car, or just over the subframe and under the car. So coming back to this side, all the body's mounted and it's a pretty flush finish on that edge, and it sits pretty well. So I did trim it a little bit. I'll still have to pull these windows out before painting, obviously, and I've just got this door out so I could work on the dash, putting it in and out. So it's pretty nice piece, absolutely love it in there. So factory pedals as well, which I've mentioned, and then I've just got these. They're not actual TRD aero, but they're a little bit expensive for what they are, I think, anyway. But so for the moment, these are just like an ABS plastic, which I'm not sure if I'll get molded to, or I might just have it double-sided taped on the back of it once it's all painted. But other than that, that's the update for the moment. So we'll get the engine prepped and get it in the car. Alright, so to get the rack out, I've already disconnected the shaft off the main shaft off the spline shaft on the rack from the engine bay. I'm going to take the wheels off and then remove the tie rods from the rack, and then drop out the rack separately. So the reason I need to take the wheel off is the actual rim sits quite close to the bottom of the knuckle where the bolt is. That allows me to pull the tie rod end out, so I have to get the rim off first. So I'll remove the bolt, but I'll put it back in so that nothing goes missing. And I'll get a shift nut to remove the tie rod. Now these shouldn't be too tight, but we'll get a bit of a closer look under here. What I'm doing. So they're a two-piece, I could call it tie rod two-piece, but there's a rack extender that does get bolted to the actual rack itself. So it's just a little bit caught up on that at the moment. So we'll get that undone. Turn this out of the way. So that's one out. The other side now. Alright, so now with the tie rod ends off, I think there's, what's that one? I think it's 12 mil. There's two clamps which hold the rack in now, which are one 12 mil nut and one 12 mil bolt. It's not a 12 mil, I'm mistaken, it's either 12, no it's 13 mil. Now it's the first time I'm removing the rack since I got it modified, and I might have to make some slight adjustments, because if I was ever to damage a rack, I want it to come out pretty easily. So the only thing that was stopping it at the moment was this return fitting, but I'll have dash fittings or metric fittings on the end of that. But yeah, that's out. I can get a bolt under there now for the engine mount. Alright, so we'll set that aside, and now the engine's ready to go in. So the only other thing I'll have to check, obviously, when the engine's going in, is this part here, the actual front lower radiator support, just up there. I may have to notch this out, just depending how low the engine sits, because as I mentioned, I'm running the Hypertune engine mounts, which are typically, well, they're actually made for Bo Yates's 86, which was a dry sump, so it may sit pretty close. So I might have to put a plate under here just to lift it up a bit, just depending how low we'll get. But it'll definitely clear the sump. It's just whether the thickness of that is going to be high enough to clear the rack. So we'll get the engine on the hoist or the crane, and we'll put it together. But in the meantime, my Platinum Racing product R35 coil bracket turned up, and it's nice that it's matching to the intake manifold, so looks pretty sweet actually. Happy with it. Only thing was, there was a couple of imperfections on the anodizing side of things, and one of the threads is kind of damaged at the back there. But I was talking to a friend who's bought the same setup, and he was saying that he's in a similar condition. So other than that, yeah, as I said, we'll get on the crane and we'll lower the car and we'll get that engine in. Right guys, I'm not sure how much of you saw of installing the engine because the camera stopped. It's got a 30-minute time limit on it, but I've been able to get the engine in and it's now back out. There are a few areas where I'm going to have to notch. One, the subframe mount. As I said, the mounts are to suit dry sump, so it does sit a little lower. And two, I need to cut a little bit of the tunnel out from the inside. So I'll just show you guys what I'm talking about. This raised section here is the problem section. So I'm not too worried about losing this bit of steel. So it's probably going to be cut off from about, say, here to about here. And once that's out, I'll actually reuse this top part here to sit down the bottom here to put some sort of reinforcement back in, more of just to plate it up. That way the sump can sit lower. So I'll measure the width of what I need, but when the engine was in the car, it was sitting between that mark and that mark, or the sump was. So I know that roughly, but I'll measure the sump, the width of the sump. And then moving on the inside, I may have to cut a little bit back here to allow the back of the gearbox to come up a bit. And I'm definitely going to have to cut the front of this out. I'm not sure how far yet. I definitely know I have to go about 100 mil, which might be all the way up to here. So I'll get all the electrical stuff out so I don't damage anything when I'm cutting or grinding. But it was actually hitting on this bolt here. So that's the most raised section, which is almost a little bit higher. Well, sorry, it's a little bit lower than this section. But I'd like to get the engine in and sitting down a little better before I make a decision just to cut majority of the tunnel out, or the top of the tunnel, because if you can see, the top of the tunnel actually raises as it comes out. So I don't think I'm going to have much of an issue. But again, I don't want to just cut out a big chunk of it without knowing. So a little bit at a time, cut less, not more, to begin with. That way we can know exactly where it's going to sit. So I'll measure that up. We'll cut that out, cut the top of the transmission tunnel out, and we'll get the engine back in. So we'll do that now, and we'll keep rolling with it. So what we're going to do, we're not going to use this all together. We will just cut a flat plate that will sit on this edge, so I can weld along that edge there, and then let it sit on the inside of this bit of steel and weld. And then what I'll do is cut some plates up to block that off. So let me get the old man to cut up the plate. I'll clean up the edges, get ready for welding, and we'll get that done before putting the engine back in. Alright, so as I mentioned, I had to modify the subframe, sorry, the cross member, the front cross member. Thanks, Dad. So I've done that now. I didn't show any of the process, but I just showed the cutting of the cross member. I've also cut the inside of the transmission tunnel, so I'll give you a quick look at what I've done. So the width of the sump will definitely fit there with some room to play with. So I've just cut that large chunk out, plated the bottom, plated the sides, and welded it at the back here as well. So pretty happy with how that came out. At the front here as well, from what I noticed putting the engine in the first time, it got pretty close to this cross member. At first I was thinking I might have to cut or scallop this out the same shape as the crank pulley, but I might be able to get away with just cutting those tabs off and it will make it easier to get the engine in and out. So I'll take you over to the transmission tunnel. So it's just I've elongated essentially the shifter position, so I can I have some room to play with when getting it in and out of the car. So that's the engine there. We'll just adjust the links so we've got it on a bit of an angle when it's going in, and we'll get it in the car. Alright guys, as you can see, the engine's in, finally. I didn't get most of the struggle of getting it in and out and making more room for it due to the battery dying, but I've got it in now. I just got the top support in just to see what it's going to look like and give me some idea of where I might need to make some more room. But not going to lie, it was a bit of a struggle. I had to cut the top of the gearbox tunnel out twice and needed a fair bit more room than I originally guesstimated, but that's just all part of the parcel. So that's done now. Engine's bolted in. As you can see, I've got a fluoro yellow tie down which is holding the back of the gearbox up, so it's not just hanging off the back of the engine. So I'll give you a first look at it. It is slightly tilting to the right if you're looking at it. Not sure if you can tell through the camera, but yeah, I just need to reposition it. But I'm going to get a gearbox jack once the car's up in the air, rotate it slightly, and then I can work out where my gearbox mount is going to go. So I'll just show you. Actually, we'll go to the other side. And obviously, I didn't mention it, but I've also just cut these tabs off that were running all the way across, which I definitely needed to do. I don't think I'll notch this part out to suit the dampener, because I'm pretty happy with it. I don't think that I'm going to get much more movement out of it. If anything, the back of the gearbox is going to be dropping down, which will bring the front of the engine up, so I should be okay for clearance there. The other thing was I was going to cut this area off just to allow for this tensioning rod for the alternator, just for a bit more clearance. But otherwise, look, it is pretty tight up against the firewall, which I kind of knew. And I do want to also try and run the factory strut bars that run to the firewall, just for rigidity, add a bit of extra stiffness to the car. And then, as you can see, that back water neck is pretty close and tight up there, but I think I'll be able to work with it where it is. So pretty happy how it's sitting in there, apart from obviously rotating it. I'll show you the tunnel, what I had to do to make the gearbox work. To cut out a fair bit, but not too worried about it, because I can make a tunnel cover for it, which can probably come up to here. So I'll try and make this level so it's all flat, then have like a sort of a box section at the back, and then only have this gear selector showing once it's all done. And I'll probably weld that in, and then just have like the top plate will just have a like a few nutserts in there, so I can put a boot on there. So I'm pretty happy with it. The first time I did cut it, it was only up to about here, so then I obviously had to cut it further back to make room for the back of the shifter. Then the top of that selector housing was hitting on the tunnel, so I had to cut that out. So yeah, the engine did come out a couple of times. It was a fair bit of work. I'm absolutely wrecked, not gonna lie, but it's in. Just needs a few little tweaks. Yeah, a few little tweaks, and then it's ready to work out where the intercooler is going to go. Intercooler piping, exhaust piping. I'm just waiting to hear back from someone regarding the exhaust side of the engine. I'm going to be potentially changing it up. We're just going to see what happens, and then yeah, we can work on the transmission tunnel, work on the handbrake mount now that the transmission's in, so I can put the shifter back in and see where that's going to sit, then obviously work out where my handbrake's going to sit. So we're getting there. I need to order a fire extinguisher kit that I can mount up, obviously whilst it's still in raw metal, because I'll have to weld a tab to the roll cage for the mechanical pull on the fire extinguisher. But other than that, not too far off. I probably might even run these water lines at the front of the engine here, these rad Dan bits, so run them from here to the bulkhead in the corner over there. So they'll just probably wrap around the front here, try and keep them under the manifold, and then go to that that block there. So slowly coming together. It looks like some drift events might fire up, so I'm not sure if I'll pull the engine out and put it back in the 180 to get driving. I mean, seat time's obviously priority, but I feel like I'm almost there. I'm not too far off getting this done. So thanks for watching this episode. We'll catch you on the next one. Probably be relating the transmission tunnel and the handbrake mount, and yeah, we'll go from there. Hope you liked it. I'm absolutely wrapped that it's in. It looks awesome. Yeah, if you got any questions about it, comment below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.